Ladies and gentlemen, Mirjam Janse is a tremendous friend of mine, and she's got very unique and amazing abilities. Welcome to Bases2016, Mirjam.
Thank you.
Mirjam is from Holland, but something we found in some of her as an artist, and she's also got the ability to heal and do all the things, and she's fully qualified with distinction in what?
Healing.
Healing, okay. But what we found that when we were doing alien implant scans at one of our conferences, I was going over individuals with a meter, and I was getting electrical power readings, magnetic energy readings, and electromagnetic EM energy readings. And they were coming from people's bodies. Now what Mirjam was able to do was to use she would find that my meters, as they began to indicate and fluctuate, she was able to pick up onto something. She was able to sort of find out more about this, and because Ben has made this public, she was able to pick up on an implant that Ben had. However, Ben, they didn't like you and they just left you alone, is that right? So they gave you an implant and says, oh God, we'll move on. Is Ben in the room?
No, he's gone.
He's not. He's gone?
Yeah.
Right, well really it's what the aliens really say. Okay, but that's a very unique tool, and it's very important that we can do that, and we want to explore those areas and see. Now, because people call it an alien implant, the targeted individuals camp is incompatible human technology, and there's also the camp where there's some kind of ET technology. The point is we don't know. The meters simply pick up an energy signature, and we try to explore it from there, and that is why we want to take that on a much more detailed scientific level. Just because a meter says it's got volts on it doesn't mean that what's coming from you are what the meter says it is. It just means that something's being detected. Okay. Mirjam Janse, 2016. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have to move a little bit careful here, but that goes for the whole Bases conference, I think. So, thanks, Miles, for lending me the stage again, and it's really a pleasure to be able to talk to you about my experiences and my thoughts on working with people to assist them in the transformation into a new world. And it's happening already, and there's an echo from this mic, I think, Miles, so can you turn this one down? Okay, better? Okay, good. For me, it was really nice to be able to be here on Friday and Saturday and meet some of the... It's still quite an echo here, sorry about that. I was happy to be here on Friday and Saturday and meet some of the people that visited the conference, but also talk to some of the TIs that I've met before, like Kieran, like Dave, and unfortunately, Max isn't here, but I met him several times as well. Leo was able to explain quite a lot of what's going on. And to me, it was very important to hear their experiences. And I'll tell you why. One of the things, I'm a healer, I'm clairvoyant, I'm claircognizant, and I'm a visual artist. That's why I like to get some art in my presentations as well. My whole strive in life is to understand myself better. And I'm coming to understand that I will never understand myself really well. But that doesn't take the joy out of the adventure. I'm okay with not knowing who I am, but still I can work with the ingredients. And for me, working as a transformational coach and a healer, I work with clients over some time. So they come once, sometimes. Most of the times they come several times, and I guide them through a process of personal growth and twist. So they twist their perception, they twist their point of view, and that makes them able to contain total different experiences, get another point of view, and really look through another pair of glasses to the life they're having. I love doing that because it's a joy to see people really grab their sense of freedom again, to be able to get more independence, more play, more creativity, and feel that they own their life. Countless times I told people it was okay to have their own space, to have their own boundaries, to set their goals, to strive for living up to their desires. And it was amazing to see how many people didn't know how. And to me, I was kind of like a shock that there were people that were, and we know there are a lot of people that just don't want to wake up. And I'm okay with that now. In the beginning, I thought, we have to change the whole world. There was this, like, you know, light and love and flowers everywhere and some incense and everything would be okay. Well, it won't. Miles has been a great teacher in this respect to show me what was all going on behind the scenes. I have seen what happens to people who are influenced by the forces behind the scenes. And I'm working on developing tools to work with that, like using scans to scan for implants as well. Getting back to this work that I was allowed to do, I'm going through a growing process as a healer as well. Of course I am. Every client tells me something about who I am. Otherwise, there is no communication possible. So they allow me to have my space. We have a mutual energy field when we work. And in that field, a lot of things can happen. A lot of gates open. We can open the doors. We can put some light on stuff. And by this whole process of mutual energy exchange and healing, I get insights in who I am, where I'm about, where being a human being in this life is about. And the funny, beautiful thing is that it's bringing me into a territory that I've never experienced before. And it does include working with TIs. It does include working with all kinds of bodies, like you're all familiar with your chakras and your auric field, right? Anybody not familiar with this? Everybody is good. Great, wonderful audience. There's so much that you can detect from just scanning the auric field of someone, and the information that's coming through is from such a different character than ever before, and it's speeding up so fast that it's really hard to keep up. And therefore, I'm really grateful for having had those conversations with the TIs. In a way, I think, to me, everybody is a TI. You know, the TIs just get the blocks and implants and controlling systems that don't belong to a healthy and balanced system in itself, because they are adventurous in areas that the average person isn't yet, okay? But everybody is targeted. Everybody is targeted, and see if I can go, if this works. Yes, we all are surrounded by voices and influences and patterns and what the church said or what the community said, what your parents said, and we're all very familiar with that. What is very interesting is that it has an influence that goes beyond everything the mind can comprehend. So the funny thing that I discovered doing the work that I do is that all the information, well, the church is a very good one, says, you know, you have to be ashamed, you're guilty, you carry sin from the moment you were born. All that shit is stored in your body on places that you're not aware of. So somebody can be really healthy and communicating, radiating a really happy life and still have pain in his knees every day. Because I'm dancing through life. No, your knees are hurting every day because you feel guilty about dancing through life. And that's the voice of the church or your parent, or it can be a karmic issue that says, I'm going to store myself in your knee, which is a kind of implant, okay? Because it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to your story. It belongs to your adventure through life, but it doesn't belong to you. The beautiful thing is that there are so many vague things that have an influence on us. A lot of things has been covered under a veil. And what I really like about the things that are happening on a conference like this is that the information that the TIs bring to the stage give a grip on what's going on. Even when there is not one similar story to these persons, there is a different targeted process going on in every TI. There's a Dutch guy, Joris Luijendijk. He invested the things that are going on in the City of London. He was interested in what's going on in the financial world. He wanted to know whether the money makers, the decision makers, the market makers, knew what they were doing. What do you guess? No. They didn't know nothing. They were in the blind. They just tried to live day by day by day, making lots of money, maybe by coincidence, but they made a lot of money. But they didn't know what they were doing. They were not aware of the consequences of their actions. And there were quite some people that wanted to speak up. And he was surprised about that. He wrote a book about it. It was a big thing in Holland. And what it made obvious is that indeed we depend on people that know nothing about their actions. They're not aware of the consequences of what they do, what they decide. Which is kind of weird, right? What I noticed that in the processes that the TIs are in, there's a lot of things like that happening as well. Decisions are taken, and people don't know what the consequences are. And that's kind of weird. There's so much experiment going on, so much research that doesn't have a specific goal. And to me, that is a really painful thought. And to me, that was a huge disappointment in my life, to find out that I'm depending on people that don't have my well-being in their, how do you say that? That's not a goal. And and then you have this huge challenge. How am I going to go about dealing with so much information of which I know that it might not be to my benefit? Who am I going to relate to? What am I going to relate to? And gradually, I found that one of the basic things that is very important for me, and I found that it's very important for a lot of people, is creativity. And happily, I'm educated as an artist, so I went through art school and were smashing things and learning about color and shapes and whatever. And I learned one thing, that it's very important to be familiar, and I know Ben talked about it yesterday as well. All the shapes, the forms, the rhythms, the sounds, all has a frequency. Catherine talked about it as well. Nature has no squares. And what do? We surround us all with squares. There's a lot of stuff that is in square shapes. And that keeps us from flowing with this stream of creativity towards where we want to go. If I think about where I come from, because, you know, I feel alien. I feel very human, but I feel alien because I don't know where I come from. I have seen where I came from. I have my friends in the unseen that talk to me, and they feel like family. And I've met some on certain events. I was really invited to meet them in an almost visual way. And it's all alien. it's all extraterrestrial. But indeed, there I can say everybody is extraterrestrial as well, because who is able to keep his feet on the ground and be grounded, really grounded? Let's say 70% of humankind is not able to ground well. They're out of balance, or they're up in the air. So grounding for me is becoming terrestrial, becoming related to the earth and the earth energies. And there are not so many people who are able to do that. You all are able to do that because you're open now and you're able to ground. Yes, I can see that. Okay. This is a drawing made by a 37-year-old lady who has the mind of a 5-year-old. She is a very happy girl, has no understanding of the adult world, but she does want to have a grip on her life. This is how she does it. She makes the square and puts lots of lines in it to have a little bit of control and puts color in it. So there are these bulbs of color everywhere to make her feel, I have a safe life, this is my framework, and I put up the festivity, we called it in Holland, you can have your part, but you have to put up your own decoration. So, and she does that. And I think it's a very gentle way of showing color and festivity is important in my life. Very modest. This is a drawing I made after a painting of Agnes Martin, who was a Canadian-American painter in last century. She made paintings like this with lots of squares, and I liked this one because there's this turmoil underneath. I tried to copy her, I didn't want to use her work because of copyright. And she framed the clouds within herself and puts a dot like this little girl who had no mental development to pin it and say, okay, I'm safe in here, okay? And this has been she had a huge exhibition last year in the Tate, and her paintings are well sold and shown. But the thing is, she did this because she suffered from schizophrenia. She had to control her life. She chose to live outside cities in loneliness in the desert in the States somewhere, and painted these kind of things, just controlling, but being creative. So trying, by being creative, finding the inner balance in herself to cope with what's going on. And Dave, we had a great song just about, right? We stood there singing because he helped me ground. And it's beautiful to sing, to be creative, because that's something that moves the energies in your body without really directing it with your mind. This I made, this is a drawing after a painting of Cy Twombly. Does anybody know Cy Twombly? Good. Cy Twombly was also an American painter, and he made a real effort to be as free as possible on the canvases that he made. And the funny thing is, he made like, he went like that on the canvas, and it worked like perfectly. And they're in exhibitions all over the world. He's dead now. A friend of mine has one of these kind of paintings, like, was this size, I think. She sold it on an auction and bought a big house with a swimming pool and a big garden just by selling this one painting. What it shows is the art market is kind of crazy, I agree. But it also shows that when an artist is expressing freedom, free movement, it is something that is beyond value. And we see that in the ancient art as well. There is a freedom in expression that is still appealing to us. It's attractive because it remembers us of our source of inner creativity. I believe I am an expression of creativity, that's all. Something wanted me to be in this shape, in this human body, and be creative in creating my own life. And it still amazes me that I can resonate with it or step away from it, and resonate with it or step away. And this is making us an effort to let the creativity flow. But this is where we went. We closed the window and we closed the pipes. There's a picture I took in an alley near Hampstead Heath in London, and I was struck by it because I think, gee, that's what we do. To feel safe, we close so many windows and we close the pipes instead of facing the fear that comes with letting the things flow. And that's, of course, you're all so familiar with that. And just unplugging the pipes is something that I do with my healing work. I wanted to show this, and you're familiar with all the games that are being played as well. Are you familiar with this game? You are? Yes? Who is familiar with this game? Yes. Okay, some. Okay, good. This is, there's a lot of symbolism in this game. People used to play a game like this to gain insight in what was going on in themselves. It's a kind of transformational game. Because you have all kinds of steps, and the numerology is very important in this as well. The goose is about loyalty and freedom, and it's a soul mate. So that's important too. And it gets you to the point where you are liberated. But because of all the blocks that you have under the way, it's a kind of how you can picture your life, birth, death, and what do you encounter on the way. This was a very simple game. It's developed in the 1600s something, and it was a casino play, and in the 1700s it became the play that it is now. It's really old, and it's still being played. They make new versions of it now. But what is really interesting is that it was meant to inspire people to take control of their own life, experience whatever there would be to experience, and go for it. And this is just one of the things, and there are many examples, just picked one, that showed a game. I saw the app on the internet, and it's like, this is, for me as a healer, I think, how on earth can you work on something like this? Build vicious strategies. How can I destroy humankind with thinking of the most vicious illnesses to destroy human systems? And people pay for it? I thought but this is not, this of course, you know that playing games like this, of the fact that it is directed to the youth, makes the youth useful for all the researchers, that the TRs are just the first group of people that are charged and targeted. But it makes a whole lot of people vulnerable and open to this kind of influences, which is not directing them into owning their own health. This really pisses me off. But at the same time, it's like, okay, who am I to get pissed off? Can you say that here? Sometimes I'm not sure. Because it's part of whatever I need to experience. And I can get upset about a lot of things, but it doesn't really do me any good to get upset. So I try to look at it from an observer's point of view and say, okay, I'll go with it. This is what is happening. If I'm not getting into a resistance of this, I can go beyond and see if I can do something else. But this I do want to show you. Sometimes I try to text people, and want to put a nice emoticon underneath. But I looked through, and there are only maybe 5 happy faces, and the rest are angry, sad, yelling, yawning, shouting, whatever. So what is even in the most simple daily stuff? And I'm not even talking about food and transport and the radiation stuff, because that's a whole other story. But for me, it's important that the images that we work with are directed to us to make us choose for, maybe I'll do a softly crying one or a screaming one. Is that the options we have? And I'm still looking for the right ones. I say, okay, it's okay to send a nice message instead of, it's, okay, I'm talking about shouting as well, but nevertheless, okay. Ah, that's a good one. That is a good one. It is because I wanted to step away from the image and go to what I experience working with people that guides them into relating to images that they've never related to before. By scanning, and everybody can do this. You know, I'm born gifted, but I had to work through a lot of mud and shit and mist and whatever to get where I am now. And I'm still learning every day, but I know that everybody has the gifts I have. I can look into the Akashic. I'm allowed to go into the Akashic and ask for information on anything you want to know. You all can do this. You all have this ability. And the ones that are mentally influenced either by implants or patterns or surroundings or illnesses, whatever, just have to work a little bit harder to get there, but their experience can teach the next generation how to deal with the difficulties that they will face. But for me, allowing this enormous source of information to open up and give us a little insight and a spark of light that says, Mirjam, we're here, it's here, read the books, open the page, and answer the questions that anybody has. It is possible, it's there. And say, okay, then why do we have so many difficulties? Because if it's that easy, go there and just open any page, you know, what kind of food, what kind of government, what kind of this, what kind of treatment. And we all know that that is evolving. There is information that's of a totally different base. Looking at working with illnesses, social structures, banking, the financial markets, and so on, it is happening as well. But it's a little bit harder to distinguish what's really true and balancing and what isn't. But, and I can tell you, sometimes I just feel so comfortable being in that other realm where these frequencies are present. And I remember last year, it was a hard time then, and we went to Uffington, the White Horse of Uffington, which isn't a horse, which isn't a cat, which isn't whatever, a dragon. But it's a lovely place, and I walked up to Dragon Hill. It was streaming with rain, it was muddy, I slipped down, but I felt like I have to go up. You know the feeling where you feel, I really have to do this, no matter what. They called me nuts afterwards, but that's part of the fun. I got up there, and it was dark, because the sun set already, and it was dark, and I was standing there, and then suddenly there was this presence that and I just connected with it, and it got so enormous, like it was space opening. And I felt my heart, and I felt my longing, and I felt my stomach, and I just almost started to cry, and I felt so homesick. I felt so fucking homesick. And I said, okay, take me. I'm ready. I want to leave. Take me. And then there was this huge presence, and you know when there's a presence, you know when there's a presence in the room. Is it like somebody's walking behind you, whatever? Or in your dreams, you feel, whoa, there's something else approaching me. The people that have a daily contact with ETs know where I'm talking about. The ones that are targeted know where I'm talking about. But this was such a beautiful, harmonious energy that I just wanted to be in it and stay there. And it overwhelmed me, and it told me, Mirjam, no, we will be with you, but you can't be with us. So I had to sliver down through the mud, really cold, and looking for a hot shower. But the experience was really important for me, because I got a kind of confirmation that the guides, the spirits, the fields of energy that I work with are there any moment you want to make contact. I noticed in the last few years, and especially in the last few months, that the things are speeding up. There is, the healing goes faster, the information comes faster, and people, and I'm sure you all have to admit to it, and if there's someone said, no, I know nothing, then let me know. But it's speeding up in such a way that every layer of our body is talking to us. Every layer of our energy field, it gets more alarm bells going off. And it means that this is the right time to get this influence from this bigger field, heal you and balance the energies that are working within you. Because your kidneys will protest and say, did you work on your sadness? Did you work on your past life issues? Everybody gets a wake-up call on all the levels that are possible, but also a divorce, or the house needs to be sold, or I lost my job, or my child is really angry with me, or all those kind of things. And it sounds like really daily things, but if you look at the bigger picture, I could see that at the same week, 7 calls, people say, I got such a strange voice in my head all the time. What is this? This noise. So, well, that's what's happening. That's what's being addressed right now. And it's been going on. So like, and it's the nice thing that I can see so many people react to the same influences, crying, really being very tired, being targeted. And I'm sure that you recognize some days, like we were here on Friday, and it was really a different energy from today, right? Everybody feels that, right? It's calmed down. There was an energy on the 12th of August that was, and we all reacted to it because the energy in the hall was different from today. It's calming down now. Still, we're not done yet. To me, it feels like there are quite some shifts happening that still need to happen, so we have to go with it. But the fact that there is so much more information available is really a challenge for you all to, and I know you know the challenge, but let's say the ones that look at the video, to face what's going on and don't get stopped by fear, because fear is something you need to learn to observe instead of stepping into it. When you learn to observe your fear and step away from it emotionally, you will be able to make a choice for a different experiences. And that's what I liked about the input of Leo and Kieran and Dave and others. You learn to work with the fear, and this is a very important thing. So everything that has been squared and boxed in and stored in the attic, like, I'm going to be painful for you. If you step away from that, say, okay, I'm going to try to breathe into my fear and see where that brings me. And just keep in your heart, and not in your mind only, but in your heart as well, there's no outcome yet. It's not defined yet where we're going. It's depending on what we all do. And if we don't go anywhere, and if we all get, you know, what Miles likes to proclaim is we all get extended, so what? I still want to enjoy every day of my life. I want to grow every day to the last moment. If I need to go, I want to go with a boom. And really be there. And not be stepping away. Oh, are we going? Are we there? Oh, going. No. I want to jump in. This is what really inspired me. One of the things, of course. It's by this beautiful poet, Rumi, of which I later found out that he was a homosexual and having problems in his society by being a homosexual. But his poems about love are the most beautiful ever. It shows also that love is, you know, it's not bound to sex, it's not bound to age, it's not bound to whatever. It is the real compassion that shines through when you leave someone to be who he or her wants to be without trying to own them. And he wrote some beautiful text about it. But what I really like is that he says, it journeys secretly in without form, though under a form. So I use my body as a mean of carrying me through life. I carry a heart that can hold certain frequencies, but I carry a stomach and a kidney and a liver that holds other frequencies. And the funny thing is that if I have a certain a chord, can you say that, with like a music, you know, a combination of tunes, and when I'm tuned in, I can pick up the tune in someone else without connecting to them, without becoming them. And that is because it is important to exercise stepping away from fear and just allow someone to be whatever he is. Indeed, like Miles said, I can detect implants, but it's not that I want it happens. I happen to see, to know, think, yeah, but you got one there and one there, and it turns out to be right. I cannot guarantee that someone asks me, do I have any implants? They go, I don't know, but I can look at the total balance and see where the chord, this musical tune that's supposed to be in harmony is out of tune. And if I see where it's out of tune, you can see, okay, that might be either physical, emotional, or technical. And the thing that blocks the most from really detecting where it's about is the emotional. So when the emotional is blocked, you can guarantee yourself that all your other observations are less valid. So if there's one challenge in life is to learn how to deal with your emotions. And even the TIs are talking about this. I dealt with certain things. I learned to meditate. I looked to Eastern philosophy to find some calm, right? So that is important. I want to, if I could, this one. I'm showing, good. Let's see, take one back. This was a full moon over Silbury Hill, and I'm just showing it that the information that is available to us, it comes to me, and it's like I'm not allowed to stick to one kind of information. That's interesting. It just shows me the whole range of possibilities, and it was one. I made a picture, full moon, Silbury Hill, and then I kept making pictures, and disappeared. And you can also see that the moon is still in the same picture, but I have entities protecting themselves on my picture, and it happened several times. And sometimes I can very easily detect a face in it. I feel the presence, but I don't work with it. So I say, okay, that's a possibility too. And that means, to me, it means that there are many, many ways to witness presences from a realm that we're not yet so familiar with. Miles was talking about, and I don't know if you can see it with this guy, he put a little video on YouTube that showed me scanning this man. And this was the picture I made the night before we went to West Kent Longborough, and I just made a picture just for fun. But there was light shine, you can see on his cheek. It was not the best picture, but it showed light. I said, what's going on? What is that? And he turned out to have implants, and that's why we did the scan the day after. And it turned out that where I photographed the lights, there were the implants. How does that happen? I'm not sure, but it is one of the ways that the information comes to me and to be worked with. This guy, I tuned into him to ask where the implants came from, why he had the implants, because that's the most nasty part of having implants, is that it's at random in a lot of occasions. This guy had the implants because he was camping somewhere in Africa near a lake, and he was with a boat with friends going on the lake at night just for fun, looking at the stars, and he crossed the lake almost to the other side, and it turned out to be a military base. And he didn't know that. But he came back. Then there were some people coming to him saying, oh, let's go to the bar, let's have a good pint. And they drugged him with alcohol and put the implant in him to control him, because they didn't know whether he picked up information of this military base and whether he was going to take that back to England. He didn't. He knew nothing. He hadn't seen anything, but he has this implant for the rest of his life. And to me, that is like, okay, if you think there's information that might be useful, for you as a researcher, okay, but you put implants in people at random. He dealt with it in a way, so he found a way to deal with it, but he's still suffering from headaches, and but he's left on the loose. To me, it was fascinating to be able to photograph it and therefore find out that there's a connection between the work that Miles does and I do, and that happened several times after that. So I hope to be able to do some more research on that and get some more data. And that's a good one too. I already talked about that. Okay, what I do is, and I'm showing just two drawings of the kind of scans that I make, because I scan a whole auric field, and I go by the chakras and the bodies, and then I go into other space. That is something that you all can do if you want to check yourself every morning or night, whatever. You can do that. You can learn to do that and learn to discern what is really happening within you. Thank you. This is a scan of a person that came to me, and this was a first session I did. This is a lady who thought she had her life really pretty much together, but she felt miserable, tired, and not happy. So I said, how can that be? Everything is in order, how can this be? And it turned out that her whole body system was made out of defense. There is not one chakra that is in place. As you can see on you're familiar with the 7 chakras. Not one is in place, and there's like a triangle shapes, square shapes, really heavy legs, and it's like, I'm defending myself every day. Well, the funny thing is that she turned to Buddhism and martial arts. I said, well, do you feel happy fighting all the time? She says, yes and no. And that's where our conversation started. Even her heart was boxed in, so she was in a kind of situation that she couldn't move anymore. It was every like, I don't know where to go from here. And then it's my pleasure to help someone to make a next move. This is a scan I made of a guy. He is a creative guy, 43, I think. But this is a funny drawing because I never made a drawing like this before. It's are the vortexes of the chakra, but they're located on the places that we've been working on before. And he just had a car accident. And he bumped into a car with his bike, fell over, and everybody thought, oh, it's going to be back pains, and he's going to be in big trouble. It turned out that was the best wake-up call he could have, because all the blocked chakras in the session before showed that suddenly everything was moving and in a huge transition. And he said, yeah, funny enough, I don't feel bad. I'm okay. This is what can happen, and look what this crown chakra, there's a lot of support there as well. And I loved the feel there, you can hardly see it, but there's a light blue line around it. He was protected in this process. So everybody who goes into a really healing process and has the intent to do so, which we are doing with the whole world right now as well, is protected. That's my view. This is a drawing made by clients. Sometimes I don't want to make the drawing, I let them make the drawing. And this is a lady, and I asked her, and this is just to give you some examples of how it can work, that the lady, I asked her to draw herself at the age she had now, which was 30-something, and herself being a 4-year-old, because I could see something happened when she was 4-year-old. There was a huge sense of loss, of being lost, of not being wanted. And so that's her and herself, holding hands with herself, her younger self. And she started shaking, making this drawing. And I just let it happen, and I'm really happy I did, because this was that was really like, you're very carefully, very restricted in letting me into her life, but very eager to get something going. She started drawing that triangle, shaking and tears in her eyes, but the triangle just needed to come out. The triangle needed to be expressed, so she had. And after that, she was like, what have I done? I said, well, it's just brilliant. You show yourself, you are defending yourself enormously. You have this block, and it's beautiful because it's out there now. And after that, there was finally this relief. But what I like about it is that this is about being creative. Her inner creative voice made her draw this triangle. She gave in to drawing herself at the age she is now, and as a younger child. And by taking the younger child and all the pain that was combined with it into this moment, made her admit and acknowledge that there was something else going on. And she drew it herself. So she was owning her creativity at that moment, and that was such a relief that it set off a whole process of tears and sorrow and grief and whatever that needs to go through, which is, to me, healing. I'm sure I'm running over time now, but I'm not sure. I'll go. Just a few more slides, mainly because I also saw a connection between the fact that I detect more and more energies from realms that are not familiar to everybody. Like, say, this is what we're used to, the 7 chakras and the emotional, the mental, blah, blah, blah. You can give them other names because even there is no distinction between the emotional and the mental, for instance. There's no line. And you can name them differently, and even the chakras you can name differently. But this is like the basis we work with. But what is happening now is that we have far more chakras and also the ability to receive information through those chakras. If you are familiar with the fact that, I don't know if you know that sensation when you meet someone, you go, oh, I don't want to be near that one. You know, you get a pull in your stomach. Oh, gonna step away. It's your solar plexus that's reacting and say, listen, I don't want to get that information of that person in my system, so I want to back out. But that's a very common known effect of the energies in your body. These vortexes give you information on any layer you want to go. Because we are, and the funny thing is, if you go on the internet, there's a lot of stories about the new chakras that we are developing, that we are evolving into this energy field. But they don't agree. Some say so many, some say there, some say it's there. So it's still evolving. What I really like is that there are many chakras now connected to our eternal existence, to our soul gate, to our dream state, to our gate to heaven. And I once did a guided meditation, visualization to go through all these chakras. And it's nice because if you do that, you're aware of what's going on, so you can check and research what's going on. So you take the elevator up, and you step out on every level and say, okay, what's here? What's going on? And it was like there is so much space available, but also the information in that space is available. And it's available to us all. And you're all on that path. Can't be, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But that means that the targeted individuals may suffer from implants on layers that we are not familiar yet. That might be in the body a device that's connected to information that is on another level. And since these levels are not acknowledged yet and not being worked with, and as a psychic, I can only say I channel the information and it's given to me, but I have no data. I can only see in people that it makes a change when they acknowledge that the information is there. And it will transfer itself because this creative source that we are wants to express itself in an harmonious way and be in tune with everything that is available. Yes, then we get to a point, okay, let's look if we can work with some data. But for now, I'm learning so much about what is possible. The fact that these, let's say, bodies are more and more present around everybody means that we can communicate in a very different way. We can work with frequencies. If we learn to ground ourselves and go through all the chakras we have, clear our emotional body, we can go up to the stars and work with the energy that's there, and that's so far more powerful than anything we ever held for possible. And when we get there, Miles Johnston, we are not being extinguished. We are going to go for the action. John Irving, we are not going for the action when we know we win. We win because we go into the action. I challenge you all to just take this in and know that there are gates to be opened, and they are opening, so don't be afraid of any experience of outside a realm that you're familiar with. This space is available, and like I noticed, some get the information and see there are karmic issues being played out. There is some stardust that needs to be cleared. Swipe this space and use it for the benefit of yourself in the first place. Make sure that you're protected when you work with it. It's very important. And by you doing so, and that's especially the case for the TIs, It needs to be protected to be able to lower yourself or hire yourself into these realms where you pick up the information you need to work with. And by doing so, you radiate an energy that goes beyond any computer, any system, and works with the forces of nature beyond you. And you'll be home. Thank you. One more.
Well, thank you, Mirjam. An absolutely wonderful, inspirational presentation. Thank you very much indeed. We are now going to have a very short break. What we're going to do is we're going to change computers. While we change computers here, we're going to test a Skype call with Valery Uvarov, who is in St. Petersburg. And we're going to get the